Hey everyone, this is Turgaya, and I'm here to talk to you about the weekly reset vendor weapons for the week of May 2 through the 9th. There's quite a few weapons this week, so let's get right to it. This week's raid is the Vault of Glass with the Templar and Atheon challenge active, so go get those adept weapons, Guardians. Moving on, the Challenge of the Elders has Specialist, Super Kill bonus, and Trickle. The weekly Nightfall is Omnigul, and you see the perks are Epic, Brawler, Grounded, Chaff, and Match Game. The weekly Heroic Strike is Heroic, Specialist, again, Chaff, and Airborne. And the weekly Story playlist is Heroic with Small Arms and Grounded. First up, New Monarchy. The Impeacher 5 makes a pretty regular showing as a solid roll on a good archetype of sidearm. This week it's got both the True Sight and the Sure Shot scopes. It's got Hipfire, armor-piercing rounds if you want, but I would roll Hipfire. Hand-loaded for a little bit of extra range, and reactive reload to get you some extra damage after a kill. Recommended. The Deposition 7 is a good example of a bad archetype. I don't generally like this combination of rate of fire and impact, but it's pretty solid in PvP. The main reason most people would skip over it is the scopes. It doesn't have short gaze or ambush. However, I think a lot of people sleep on the Longview SLR-10, which is a great all-around scope in both PvE and PvP. It's slightly tighter zoom than the short gaze, but it has excellent aim assist. It's really a strong option. Moving down, we have Quick Draw, Perfect Balance, and Take a Knee. So if you like to sit back with your sniper rifles and have been taking advantage of the Take a Knee perk, this is actually a good choice for some PvP play. So let's take a look at the Crucible Quartermaster, Archite 99-40, who has a lot of interesting roles this week. First of those is the 0-Day Dilemma. This week we have a combination of Sure Shot, Spray and Play, Small Bore, and Persistence, which makes for a good roll on an archetype that's a little bit weak in PvP, but with Small Arms active this week you might have fun with it in PvE. Next, we have the Hero Formula. This one has a Focus Lens FLA5, which is going to promote a more passive playstyle. The shorter range scope that it has, the MD Reflex, is not so great. It also has Take a Knee, which is going to synergize with this more passive playstyle. You have Hand-Laid Stock for extra stability, and Hidden Hand. The Palindrome is a hit this week. We've got True Sight. We have both Mulligan and Icarus, depending on your playstyle. I'd probably go for Icarus, which isn't really needed on hand cannons, but I'd prefer not to miss my shot, and therefore not proc Mulligan. Moving on, there's Rifled Barrel, a must on hand cannons, and Rangefinder. So this should really reach out and touch someone. It's not the best roll we've seen on a Palindrome, but it is a very good roll. Next we have Each New Day. This week the roll includes a Reflex Scope, Life Support, both Braced Frame and Rifled Barrel down the middle, and Hot Swap. This could be pretty deadly in the Crucible. I'd recommend it if you're into fusion rifles at all. You may notice I don't tend to recommend a lot of shotguns, but this week the curtain call's pretty strong. It's got Field Choke and Aggressive Ballistics. I would pick Field Choke for the little bit of extra range it provides. In addition, it's got Performance bonus, so if you get a kill, you're going to get some ammo. Reinforced Barrel, an absolute must to extend the range, and Crowd Control. Not the perfect shotgun, but this is a really fun option. Anton's Rule is next. I'm not certain how I feel about this archetype, but this week we've got Sure Shot, Zen Moment, Fitted Stock, and Rangefinder, which is how I'd set up this gun. It makes it really tempting to take it out and have a spin in the Crucible, cause a little rage. This brings us a nice PvE roll on the event horizon. It's not ideal, but it has lots of good choices. We've got the Short Gaze Scope, Spray and Play, Perfect Balance, and Hidden Hand. I really would like to see Triple Tap in here, but with Spray and Play, this is a pretty strong option. Something wicked also gets a mention this week, primarily because it's a tracking launcher in Void. Not a ton of those come across the vendors and my table, so the rest of the roll is okay. I'd probably run soft launch for the velocity, life support, and in the middle, I'd probably go with heavy payload. Now we come to the Vanguard Quartermaster, Roni 55-30. Roni only has one weapon I'm really interested in, and it's the perfect counterpoint to the Heroes formula. It's the Angel's Advocate role this week. Let's take a look. This week we have a reflex sight, which is a close-in sight. We have Rodeo and Mulligan. We have hand-laid stock, explosive rounds, and hidden hand. There are a lot of good choices here. The way I would probably run this, though, is hidden hand, hand-laid stock, and Rodeo, together with the reflex sight. Now to Iraq Jalal and Dead Orbit. The Extremophile 011 gets a mention yet again. This week we have the reflex sight, high caliber rounds, hammer forged, and glass half full. The Keystone 01 gets a mention this week because apparently someone at Bungie was listening and I got a focus lens FLA5. I didn't, however, get a short range scope. There are two other decent scopes on here, but realistically, on this kind of scout rifle, you want both. A long range scope like the focus lens FLA5 and something like a reflex or a short shot scope to give you some close range options. Moving on, though, we've got explosive rounds, outlaw, and hidden hand. This gun kind of kicks like a beast, but if you can deal with that recoil, this could be a really fun option, taking out some of the red bar, no shield tier 2 enemies like a Vandal. The Unto Dust 00 gets an honorable mention because it's a tracking arc launcher. That's pretty much it. Moving on, we have Javelin, Field Scout, and Hard Launch, which will make this into a pretty acceptable PvE launcher if you need an arc tracking launcher. Lastly, we come to Future War Cult and Lakshmi 2. Let's see what she has. The Waltz looks good this week with Sure Shot, Snapshot, Perfect Balance, and Glass Half Full. The Waiting Fusion Rifle also looks strong this week with a reflex sight, Snapshot, Perfect Balance, and Rangefinder. Usually I shy away from Snapshot on fusion rifles because the charge time is so long, but with this weapon, you want to stay at hip fire as long as practical while you're charging because of that slow charge rate to track your target, and then you want to snap in at the last moment for the rangefinder perk to proc. So definitely worth picking up, but you're going to have to practice with it. And lastly, our perennial sidearm of the week, the Wormwood. This week we have the Sure Shot Scope, Quick Draw, and high caliber rounds, depending on your preference, fitted stock, and rangefinder. Army of One isn't a bad choice either on this perk because you're going to get some kills. So what do you think, Guardians? Did I miss any important roles that I'm going to get wrecked by this week during Crucible? Haha! I'm not playing Crucible this week. I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda. Can't get me. But no, seriously, if there's something you think I missed, let me know in the comments below. We're all here to help each other. And on that note, I hope this helped some of you, Guardians. And if it did, please consider leaving a like or clicking that subscription button. On screen now should be my information, so you can find me around the net on Twitch, on Twitter, and of course you've already found me here on YouTube. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you Starside Guardians.